You're listening to the Auxiliary Gate Podcast, Kentucky's weekly horse racing discussion. And now, here are your hosts, Alan Schneider,
Burgess Meredith, the Penguin, was in an orgy. Ugh.
the bearded handicapper, Geoff Riggs,
I was just craving some McDonald's.
and me, C.C. Broaddus.
We just showed up at this party and there's like 15 people just having an orgy and we joined in. And then they kicked us out because we were laughing too much. We having too much fun. All right, everybody. Welcome to number 240, episode 240 of the Auxiliary Gate Podcast. I'm C.C. Broaddus. I'm joined by Alan Schneider, Fern Creek's finest, but only for a short time. Welcome to the show, Alan.
Yes,
Alan Schneider.
glad to be here, folks. I didn't think I would. I'll be here briefly, but I explained to these guys earlier why I'm going to keep it short today or whatever. But of course, these guys they got big shoulders. They can handle it.
And plucking his beard, making it look as fine as he possibly can, Geoff Riggs has joined the show.
Yes, sir. Running the brush through it right now. I'm a little bit of beard oil as well, just making sure it's nice and spiffy for this audio-only podcast we got going tonight. But happy to be back with you guys.
All right, real quick, we're going to have our guest up here very shortly. Let's talk briefly about this incident at Parks Racetrack in Philadelphia yesterday. We're recording this on Wednesday, April the 1st, and this is not an April Fool's joke. But if you go watch Parks Race 9 on Tuesday, March 31st, an incident happened, basically turning for home. Horse, basically, it's the 5 horse, opens up like a 4 or 5 length lead. Jockey setting chili, has a multi-length lead inside the 8th pole. Jockey still setting chili. One horse passes him late. Jockey does not move a muscle, and the horse finishes second with no urging. And obviously, this created a stir on Twitter or X, and it's bled over into mainstream media. The New York Post actually printed a story on that today, online, not printed, but it was online. Geoff Riggs, you have an interest in this. Can you expound on this story a little bit further?
I've been extremely interested in this, CC, because it's such a unique scenario I've never seen before. When I first saw it, I was like, there is no explanation for this. Like, this was absolutely nefarious situation, 100%. And then saw somebody on Twitter, I don't remember who the first one I saw was, but basically said, hey, this horse is just super quirky. You can't whip her. You can't give her any kind of urging whatsoever. Go watch the replays. So, me being me, of course I did go watch the replays. I watched a bunch of them, probably 7 or 8 of them. And there's definitely some truth to that. I would say the majority of past races for this horse, there has been no urging whatsoever, but I will also say that the majority of past races, this horse either wins or fades badly. So there's really no need to. And you look back, I think it was late, maybe September or October 2025, there was a win where she was under a pretty vigorous hand ride and still kicked on pretty well. And some other races, there was at least just like a mild hand urging. And with the margin of victory in this race yesterday, it looked to me like very mild hand urging would have made a difference. So I don't know, maybe the jockey was instructed to do absolutely nothing, but even at that point to me, guys, if the jockey's instructed to do nothing no matter what, I don't see how standing up and dramatically looking under your legs and looking back for the competition, how is that going to help the horse run any better? And not only does that not help the horse run any better, what are you looking for if you're not going to do anything different when another horse comes up to you? Like, what's the point in looking back? So, like, I'm not totally convinced, guys. I don't know what you guys think.
So my opinion on this is, again, when I first saw it, I was like, that honestly, that's as crooked as I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Then I saw all the things about that's the way the horse is ridden in the past. Okay, fine. I will begrudgingly accept that. However, the public needs to know. The public needs to know
That's a great
beforehand.
point.
The
Yeah.
public, because CC, I'm sure you can remember this too. When you would have a jockey who was not carrying a whip in a race, yeah, I think in the racing form of the program it would say no whip, or they would have a program change on the in-house feed saying Pat Day will not have a whip today, so the public knew that. So they don't think any shenanigans are going on. I understand that some horses don't respond to that, but you are withholding a tremendous piece of information from the public that's not only takes hurts them, but also hurts the integrity of the game when a situation such as this happens. I'd also add that the horse that won the race didn't want to go by the horse. It took everything he had to get past him.
Hmm.
That horse had no will to win. But wouldn't you agree, guys, agree that if that's the case, number one, maybe the horse shouldn't be racing, number one. But number two, the public has a right to know that so you can avoid this. It seems like a pretty easy thing that should have happened. CC?
It's a great point, and I've seen the argument online of put in the work to look at the replays that the horse has been ridden exactly the same way every time, but that's just not true in my opinion. I watch a lot of replays.
Yes.
Yes, similar, but I hadn't seen any where the horse lost by a neck and wasn't even nudged on. Like it's not like
Right.
this horse never gets nudged on. But yeah,
Yes.
CC, go ahead.
The jockey's name is I don't know if it's Eliseo or Alicio Ruiz, and he's released a statement. I don't have the statement here, but he's basically said it was trainer's instructions, and I
Yeah,
believe him. I
I
don't
do
think
too.
I
I
don't
do
think
too.
there's
Yep.
anything nefarious going on here.
Hmm.
But that's the way he rode the race is against the rules. I pulled up the Pennsylvania
Yes.
rules and
Yeah.
regulations for
Hmm.
horse racing, and code 305.290 says horses shall be ridden out. All horses shall be ridden out in every race. A jockey shall not ease up or coast to the finish without reasonable cause, even if the horse has no apparent chance to win prize money. A jockey shall at all times give a best effort during a race, and each horse shall be ridden to win.
Boom.
Uh,
That's it right there. Doesn't,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it doesn't matter what the trainer says. Trainer tells you not to ride a horse. I mean, that doesn't mean that just is a pass for
and
a game that's a pari-mutuel wagering game.
there's more to this. A jockey may not intentionally ride wide on the turns, cause the horse to lose ground when there is no reasonable cause for the loss, or ride in a manner inconsistent with using the best efforts of the horse.
Good point.
There you go. I mean, and the bottom line is, I believe there's nothing nefarious here, but you just can't have this in a pari-mutuel game where people's money is on the line.
Yes. At a very minimum, the optics are horrific, and our sport doesn't need any more bad optics.
If the jockey says the trainer instructed him to ride that way, then the trainer needs to be suspended. That bottom line. He needs 6 months to think about it.
And shouldn't we also add that off the top of my head, and I haven't investigated as much as you guys have, but if this horse does this in every race, for instance, the steward should be aware of it too, right? So, um,
Well, yeah, to add just real quick, that horse should have been declared a non-starter
fair.
in that race.
Yeah. And in previous races, right? To some extent. I mean, but you go ahead. You've investigated this more than I have.
I just
I
think
I had not seen a situation like this in the previous races, but that might be circumstantial. It might be an outcomes versus causality kind of deal to where this would have happened possibly in another race and it just hadn't happened yet. So I think that's up in the air.
real quick, I don't bet Parks, but if this was my horse and I needed this to complete a pick 5 or a pick 4, I would be absolutely furious.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you could overcome this if
Yep.
you're a better.
Yep.
I couldn't get past this if I really needed this horse for a big score, and that's all relative. But yeah. Anyway, okay. Enough Parks. We'll talk about some of the Derby preps over the weekend and Keeneland coming up this weekend, Wood Memorial, Santa Anita Derby, right after our very special guest.
All right, we are back. Our special guest today is one of my absolute favorite people in the industry, and I'm super pumped that he agreed to join us tonight given his recent big news, especially during March Madness. Our guest this evening was a former D1 college basketball player who was deadly from three, And as far as racing goes, he was the 2025 Newcomer Award winner at the TIEA Awards, and he's the man who's going to be taking over for the Tom Amos Racing Stable. It is Kinnon LaRose. Kinnon, how's it going tonight, brother?
Hey, good, Geoff. Appreciate you having me on. How's everything?
Absolutely. It's going very well. Appreciate you joining us. I know you're super busy right now. Got a lot going on. Where are you currently? Where are you calling us from?
Currently, about 20 minutes outside of Hot Springs. You got a couple in tomorrow over at Oaklawn, and then I'll be there tomorrow, and then headed back to Keeneland for opening day.
Man, a man on the move, staying busy. I like it.
Absolutely.
So I think April 1st was the date that I heard that you were officially taking over. Are the Oaklawn starters still under Tom's name or yours?
No, yeah, the Oaklawn starters are under my name. We got two in tomorrow, Thursday, April 2nd, and then yeah, from here on out they'll be in my name.
And hitting the ground running. Love to hear it.
That's
Love to
right.
hear it. Well, before we get too much into the racing stuff, we are in the middle of March Madness, even though it is technically April now, April 1st today as we're recording. So we have to at least mention your basketball career. You were a finalist for Mr. Basketball in New York in high school, all-time leading scorer at your high school, and
Yeah.
played D1 college basketball at Siena and then at Sacred Heart. What was that experience like playing college basketball?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a fun 5 years, and it flew by. My first year at Siena was really eye opening. It was kind of a young freshman, 18-year-old kid, and didn't really know too much about myself or the world. And it was a great experience, and I wouldn't change it for a thing. And we got to play at Duke and play at Wisconsin and play some big schools and see some different environments. And it was awesome and learned a ton about myself. And then yeah, 4 years at Sacred Heart, and we had some good teams. We set the most wins in Division One history for the school, and unfortunately didn't make it to the tournament. But we had a good runs, and I miss it, but it was a great experience.
That's awesome, man. And I believe you were team captain your senior year at Sacred Heart, right, as well?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. About the middle of
Yeah.
my junior year, and then into my senior year, yeah, as the captain, and tried to, as I say in the racing industry, try to keep the ship afloat. That's all you can do.
Yeah. Exactly. Speaking of that, that was the next thing I was going to ask you. Have you been able to take anything from your basketball career into horse racing? Like, are there parallels there at all?
Oh, I think for sure they are. I mean, you just kind of look at it, in an athletic way. You treat these horses like they're athletes, and
Yeah.
you kind of get in that steady grind with them every day, and it's just like basketball. You're hitting the gym, you're hitting the weight room, you're doing different things, you're doing conditioning, you're working on your nutrition. You're doing your therapies, and it's the same thing with these horses. I mean, you got to take care of them. You got to give them the therapy. You got to condition them the right way and make sure they're taken care of and on the right feed program. And some horses don't like to eat some different things, and you kind of learn from them and treat them as athletes and individualize them. And just it's just kind of like you're back in your days with yourself, where you're trying to figure out how you can be the best player you can be.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense for sure. A lot of parallels there. I know you grew up in New York, close to
Yeah,
Saratoga Race Course.
yeah.
When did you first get interested in racing, and were your family also racing fans?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I don't know, I was probably 9 or 10. My family would always bring us down to Saratoga for a weekend just to, get out of Ogdensburg, New York, which is where I'm from. It's about 4 hours north of Saratoga. And we'd always go down there for a
Mhm.
weekend and hang out and go to the races and do all that kind of stuff. And I always enjoyed it as a kid growing up. And, as I went in college and kind of became more involved and watched a lot of races and started handicapping and doing all that stuff. And then yeah, I was done playing and didn't know whether I was going to keep playing or try to find something else to do, and just kind of on a whim, yeah, reached out to Tom and got lucky that he answered me. And I mean, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that story of you reaching out to Tom, I think that's so inspiring for people wanting to get into racing who weren't necessarily born into it. There's a lot of that in the sport. That's kind of it's hard to break into if not. But can you just kind of take us through how you got in contact with Tom and how you got involved with racing? Because I just think it's such a cool story to where you are now today.
Yeah, so again, just grew up going to Saratoga, and if we weren't at the track, we were watching Fox, and that's how I learned about Tom.
Hmm.
And I didn't know anybody in the industry, and I'd always watch Fox with my dad, and he's like, "Well, why don't you reach out to Tom Amos? And so we kind of did a little research on him, and saw he went to LSU, and kind of had athletic background, and he kind of had some similarities to my past, and so yeah, Tom was the guy for me, and he was the only guy I reached out to, and yeah, so I sent him the email and just wrote him a little cover letter, and yeah, I told him that I wanted to dive in, and told him I was willing to do anything that he needed me to do to be a part of his team. And I got lucky. He saw it and on a Monday night and reached back out to me Tuesday morning, and I met him down at Keeneland 3 weeks later, and he won a couple races opening day of the fall meet at Keeneland. And I said, well, Tom, I said, I'm in. I'll do whatever you need me to do.
Yeah, I mean, you say you got lucky, but you put the work in, man. Like you started off just walking hots for him, right? And just kind
For
of
sure.
just doing everything around the barn he needed to. And I think that's what he saw in you, and I think that's what a lot of people see in you is that work ethic that you have to do whatever's needed, right?
Yeah, I think that's life, Jeff, and that kind of goes back to my past with basketball. If you weren't in the gym, or you weren't putting the time, or you weren't putting the work in, then somebody else is, and they're going to take your spot. So
Yeah.
that competitive juice never leaves you, and it's just kind of a different path now, but I certainly love doing it.
Yeah, yeah, I do love that about racing as a sports fan myself too. Just the how similar they are with that competitiveness and how hard work pays off and uh those individual things like that. But I believe you've been with Tom for what is it, 6 years now? You've been with him?
Yeah, yeah, been with Tom for
Yeah,
6 years. Yeah,
yeah. Most recently as his top assistant, and Tom's had so much success in his career with horses of all levels. And a lot of people know the 2019 Kentucky Oaks winner, Serengeti Empress.
yeah.
How is it having such a successful and decorated trainer as your mentor these past 6 years?
I mean, I couldn't ask for anything else. Tom's been so good to me, and straightforward and honest, and respectful of me, and he's certainly had a ton of success in this game, and I couldn't be more grateful to be learning from him, and again, just the way he goes about his business every day. He's in the barn every day. He's learning these horses, and all the things he's got going on with Fox, and getting on the TV, and handicapping races,
Hmm.
and still taking care of a stable of 60 horses and doesn't miss a beat. It's been pretty impressive to watch, and just trying to emulate that and try to learn as much as I can from him, and pick his brain every day. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, speaking of his TV experience, I saw you on TV on the closing Sunday at the fairgrounds meet. How'd that
That's
go?
right. That was good. With Kevin Kilroy.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
No, it was great. It's different. You're on the booth, and you got a little TV in front of you. You're watching yourself speak. It's hard to get used to for a second, but
Yeah, it's weird, right?
yeah, it is. But no, it was cool, and Kevin was cool. He asked me some good questions, and no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, and whatever it was, the 15 minutes felt like it was 2 minutes. It was cool.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And Kevin's definitely great to work with. Easy guy to be on air with, good to riff off of and everything.
Oh, absolutely.
Um, I'll turn it over to CC here in a minute. I know he's got some questions for you, but I did earlier just briefly mention you won the Newcomer Award at the 2025 Thoroughbred Industry Employee Awards this past year. What all went into that, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was a cool experience. So Tom nominated me, basically about 6 months before that, and he called me and said, "Hey, I nominated you for the Newcomer Award. They're going to be coming to the barn up in Saratoga. They're going to do a little piece on you, a little video, and then you go to Keeneland if you get selected to for one of the finalists, and you go to Keeneland and kind of go through interview process with a panel of judges, and they'll kind of, I guess, quiz you on a few different things, and it was cool. I didn't even think Tom would nominate me, and I'm super happy and grateful that he did, and just happy that we made a good impression on the judges, and happy we could bring it home for Tom Amos stable.
Very cool. Well, definitely well deserved, man. I will kick it
Appreciate
over to
it.
CC here. I have a couple more questions for you later, but I know he wants to ask you a few things. Go ahead, CC.
Kinnon, first of all, congratulations. I understand you've earned this, and
Appreciate it.
looking forward to betting your horses in the future.
I appreciate that.
Many of our listeners may not know this, but Tom Amos is built like a proverbial shit brick house. He has tree trunks for arms. I know because I grabbed his arm accidentally one day, and it immediately realized it was probably a mistake. Had he been in a bad mood, if
Yeah.
Tom challenged you to a fight, how long would you last, and what weapons would you use to try to take him down?
See, I think we know the answer to that. It'd be my two fists, and we'd be asking him how long he'd last.
Oh wow.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, Tom's a softie, huh?
Not a softie, but I think I got him. I got the reach on him.
Kennon's got the reach. Yeah, he's a tall guy.
So been trying to research your background. As you previously said, you're from Ogdensburg, New York, which is right on the Canadian-U.S. border.
Correct. Yeah.
You're way up there, and there's a town nearby called either Louisville or Louisville. Which is it?
Yeah. It's Louisville, New York.
Louisville, New York. Okay, I bet the
Yeah.
winters are cold up there in Ogdensburg, right?
They are very cold. When it
Okay.
gets the wind chill at -30, it's not too enjoyable.
Oh, geez. Okay. All right. What's life in Ogdensburg like?
It's pretty quiet as we were just talking about. The wintertime, you don't go out too much, but the summers are beautiful up there. We live right on the St. Lawrence River that borders Canada and New York, and there's a lot of fishing and boating and camping and all that kind of stuff. It's right on the base of that, around that mountain, so that's close too. People go hiking and do a lot of different things up there. Summertime is beautiful. Wintertime, you better bundle up and stay inside.
You don't have an accent though.
No, not really. I mean, I guess somebody told me the other day that I guess I'm developing a Kentucky accent. I said, no, I don't. I said, I don't think so. But
That just means you're getting close to perfection.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't know about that, but we're trying our best.
You were a member, as Geoff previously mentioned, you were a member of the Siena basketball team in 2016,
Yeah,
playing for the legendary Jimmy Patsos.
that's exactly
Can you
right.
share any memories of Coach Patsos?
Yeah, you know what? He was fun to play for. He was an energetic guy. He always brought a ton of energy every day, and he did a lot of different things with us. When we went on the road, we were going everywhere. We were going to some museum, or he was taking us to kind of somewhere to, just kind of have a different look on life and have a different culture. And it's a lot of the memories that I still got with those guys that I'll never forget. And yeah, Coach Fatsos, he was a good guy.
Were you by any chance? I think it was maybe the year after uh, you left Siena. There was a fight in a Siena Rider game, and you might be able to explain this better than me, but apparently there was just some invisible handshakes after the game.
Yeah,
Because were you part of that, or were you
I
already
was
gone?
not. That was a year after I left, but I remember watching it on Twitter. Yeah, the playing Ryder and they were fighting, and yeah, he's just doing what he does. He was a he was an interesting guy, but he did things his own way and going through the handshake line just like it's normal.
Right, and yeah, shaking hands with nobody. That was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt
That
about it.
was a Sports Center moment.
Oh yeah.
What was life like in the Northeast Conference? A lot of were the basketball games I mean, we take basketball pretty serious here. What about in the Northeast? How do they treat their basketball?
Oh, they love it up there, especially in New York. Massachusetts, different things like that. We play. They got some teams in the city, St. Francis, Brooklyn, and LIU, Brooklyn. Those games are always fun. You go into the city, and they're small little gyms, and they get packed. And you're playing early, 12 o'clock on a Saturday, and it was fun. It was a great experience, and it's mid-major college basketball. Anybody could beat anybody, and it's always a dogfight. The last place team is always beating the first place team, and vice versa. And it was fun. We had some battles, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, I ran some totals on you. I found your stats on KenPom, and I've
Oh yeah,
got you at averaging over the last 7 games for Sacred Heart. The last 7 games of your career, you averaged around 12 points a game, and I think your 3 years with Sacred Heart, you were at the worst top five in two-point field goal percentage in the conference every single
yeah,
year. So you
yeah.
You must have been quite the marksman.
Well, I didn't take a lot of 2-pointers, but when I did, I made sure they went in. There were a lot of layups.
A lot
He
of
made a
layups.
lot of threes too.
It was either threes or layups.
I got you. Okay. All right. I think I read somewhere that are you going to really have 62-year-olds this year?
No, we don't have 62-year-olds. No, no, no. We'll have like 60 total.
60 total. Okay. I was
Yeah,
going to say,
yeah.
I was like, well, how many 2-year-olds do you think you got coming in?
We got about 20, 25 2-year-olds coming in, and fingers
Okay.
crossed. Hopefully everything goes well, and they're just starting to kind of trickle in, and yeah, just start to get them ready, and hopefully run them here, run them at Churchill in the spring meet.
Where do you keep the 2-year-olds at? You keep them in a different track, I assume.
Yeah, they'll start at Keeneland, and then they'll start to trickle over to Churchill here in the next few weeks when we start getting some foundation under 'em.
Okay. And what how does that work? I mean, at some point you'll work the 2-year-olds up into 4 furlong workouts.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
you do those on maybe Monday and Tuesday and ride over to Keeneland, or you got an assistant to just leave that too, or how do you manage those?
Yeah, we got an assistant over at Keeneland who does a great job. His name is Chris Richard. He's worked for Tom for years and was a trainer by himself for a while. And yeah, he does a great job, and we got a good staff over there. And yeah, we'll leave it to him, and we'll certainly be back and forth from Keeneland and keeping a close eye on those 2-year-olds. And yeah, we'll have big breeze days, and the 2-year-olds, some of them are ahead, some of them are a little behind, and it's just like we were talking about earlier. They're athletes, and we kind of individualize them and try to certainly take our time with them. We're not in any rush by any means. It's a long process with those 2-year-olds, and we just try to take the best care of them and hopefully get them right on the first time out.
As previously mentioned, you've got some starters coming up here at Oaklawn and Keeneland. Is it going to be a big relief to get your first win out of the way?
I think yes and no. I mean, it's just kind of the process of it all. I think sometimes people try to overthink it, and I think you just kind of take it day by day and just take it as it comes. And there's certainly going to be a lot of ups and downs in this game, and for the most part, it's a lot more downs than there is ups. So yeah, just kind of take it in stride, and when that first one comes, the timing will be right. And yeah, I don't know when it's going to be or where it's going to be, but we're certainly grateful to be in this position.
You've got Oscar's Hope entered in the 7 furlong Lafayette opening day at Keeneland. Son of
Yes.
Twirling Candy out of a Not This Time mare.
Yeah.
And a horse coming off a win in the Ozark Stakes at Oaklawn, 4 out of 7. So this horse is he's earned a handful of paychecks already in his career. What's your prognostication on his chances on Friday?
Yeah, no, I think he's got a good shot. He's done everything right for us since he's came in as a 2-year-old, and we've really liked him. Even the first couple weeks, you kind of knew that he had some talent, and he's been steady for us every time he's ran. And it's a short field over there in the Lafayette, and he's got a good draw on the outside posts, and obviously Irad's riding him, and that certainly doesn't hurt. And yeah, that looks like there be some speed down inside him, and hopefully he just kind of gets a nice stalking trip and can get it done.
I would think that turf is in this guy's pedigree, or excuse me, in his future.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, kind of all options are on the table, but as of right now, he's certainly running good on the dirt, and we're going to keep rolling like that.
Okay, sounds good. I'll throw it back to Geoff.
All right. Well, Kinnon, you were one of the very first people who embraced me when I made my first trip to New Orleans 4 years ago. And that's now my favorite place to visit and my favorite racetrack community in general in the country.
Sure.
What makes Fairgrounds in New Orleans special in your mind?
Yeah, New Orleans it's different.
Yeah,
It's a cool little city, and there's always a ton of energy down there, and there's always something to do. And the racetrack's cool. It's all those people down there. I think everybody enjoys New Orleans, and kind of takes a breath of fresh air. I guess to say that New Orleans voodoo down there, it can bite you 1 or 2 days.
that's right.
You just gotta roll with it down there, and just embrace it. It's a cool little place.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love it down there for sure. And we're still happy to come back to Kentucky though afterward. But it's a cool
Not wrong
place to
about
be
that.
yeah, exactly. It's a cool place to be for a part of the year, definitely. CC kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but as you begin this journey as the trainer of record for a major barn, you all 60 horses in training, some serious runners, stakes runners. What are your expectations and goals for this first year training and maybe the next few years as well?
Yeah, I think my expectations are kind of just to keep things the same. I mean, Tom has kind of planted a foundation that has given me every opportunity to succeed, and I'm just eternally grateful for that. Yeah, I think the expectations are to win, and in this
Hmm.
game, if you're not winning, then you're in trouble. And yeah, that's the goal is just to win. I don't think it really matters right now about what percentage and this and that. I don't think I should be too concerned with that. But at the same time, we're putting horses out there and putting them in the starting gate to win. And I think that's been Tom's philosophy for 40 years that he's done it, and certainly had a lot of success doing it. Just again, want to try to keep on that same path that he was on, and just lucky to have him in my corner, and lucky to have the owners still be aboard.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that's something that Tom's always really done well is place horses where they need to be, and
So
I think that's a good thing to have owners that are on board with that as well. But yeah, it sounds like just keeping that train running is the way to go for sure. But
yeah, absolutely.
yeah, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. We'll obviously be rooting for you going into Keeneland. Anyone who's listening, look out for that name LaRose in the Keeneland entries this meet. A lot of people may not be familiar with the name, but he's going to be in to win a lot of these races here. It might be a little a value in a tough handicapping puzzle that is Keeneland. So make sure you are on the lookout for Kinnon LaRose. Might give you an edge early on in the Keeneland meet. Best of luck, man. Safe travels to Hot Springs and then to Lexington. I'm sure we'll catch up soon.
I appreciate it, Geoff. Thank you very much, CC. Appreciate you, brother. Have a good night, guys.
Okay, that was Kinnon LaRose, and he's going to be in action at Keeneland on Friday, opening day. And it just so happens there's a major Derby prep on Saturday at Keeneland, one at Aqueduct, one at Santa Anita. We'll talk about those in just a minute. First, let's review the Florida Derby and the Arkansas Derby this past Saturday. Commandment for Brad Cox wins the Florida Derby barely over the Puma. Chief Wallaby not that far behind third. Who wants to talk about this first? Let's talk about this Florida Derby.
I'll just say one thing real quick. I'll let Jeff take over. I didn't get to watch it live. I saw you guys' text come in. I thought the Puma won on first glance, but unlike a lot of people, I think the thing I was most shocked at that nearly was a 7-5 favorite. I found that
Yep.
just amazing to me, quite frankly. I'm not really sure why people are so enthralled with that horse. I know that sounds like red boarding, but I'm not a red boarder. But that's the thing I took away because again, I didn't see it live. So I'll let Jeff do a little more in-depth analysis. But I was shocked at the 7-5 price on nearly.
Well, Alan, I will say we don't have a ton of good takes on this podcast, but we were both pretty anti nearly going into that race. So we got to give ourselves a little pat on the back there. We were pro commandment, pro the Puma, anti nearly. So happy with that, absolutely. I thought both of the top two ran great in there. I think they're two of the major Kentucky Derby contenders. I think they both got 100 buyer. I know CC, you're kind of the buyer guy, but I believe that's what I saw is that both Commandment and the Puma got 100 by it for that. It
Yep.
was a pretty slow pace too, and the way that Commandment made that grinding run and just kept coming, kept coming. That felt like a Derby horse to me, guys. I mean, I know we're going to talk about Renegade here in a second, but Commandment has to be one of the favorites going into the first Saturday in May, right?
Yes, and I'd also, when I go back from a betting perspective, I was shocked the Puma was 7-1 and was essentially a four-horse race. And
Yeah,
those
it
in
was a
these
great
four
price.
in these four-horse when there's four contenders, someone is going to get overlooked. But usually, the getting overlooked means like 9-2. I was like 7-1. I won't say I would have bet the Puma by any stretch of the imagination. I would just the betting surprises me, and I kind of pay attention to that. So, but you're right. I do want to take a name of the Puma or Chief Wallaby. They're both major contenders, but there's something about Commandment that just it feels like a mile and a quarter is right up his alley and stuff. So
Definitely. And
yeah,
he's a racehorse. He
yeah,
likes a fight.
yeah.
Commandment ran a 100, like you said. The Puma, boy, that's striking resemblance to Mage 3 years ago for the same connections. Made that big early move to get into contention, turning for home, takes the lead, and then gets just run down by basically the better horse. But that was Forte 3 years ago. Of course, got scratched Derby week a few days before the race, and Mage went on to win that Derby. It remains to be seen what happens here, but I got to think the Puma's going to take a lot of beating on Derby Day.
Yep.
I mean, he's lightly raced. Although, what is this? That was his fourth start of the year, so I don't know if there's a lot of improvement in the Puma going forward. But
I think he's still got some room. He's not. He hasn't been super heavily raced yet, and he's coming into things well. And this Florida Derby's been really productive recently. I mean, you just look at last year as well with Sovereignty, and then as you already mentioned, Mage in 2023. So yeah, agreed.
and then let's not leave out Chief Wallaby, who just made his
Yep.
third start, and I'm sure his buyer was what 99, 98.
Oh yeah, you were in huge.
Yeah. Now there may be some cracks in the armor there with that horse. He was actually losing ground to the top two at the wire, it seemed to me anyway. So maybe this horse is a little distance challenged. I don't know. But also, he's kind of on the outside looking in, if presuming that, I mean, he's like 12th right now in the standings. If, we get 6 or 7 horses and earn points over the weekend, they could all vault ahead of him.
Mm-hmm.
And, keep in mind that 3 of these spots are going to go to, I think it looks like the first 2 finishers of the UAE Derby and a Japanese horse. So, he's at 12th right now, but he could easily slide out of that top 17 position. So, interesting to see what happens over the weekend. Let's go to Oaklawn, where Renegade earned a 98 buyer by winning the Arkansas Derby for Todd Pletcher and Arad Ortiz. This horse's second start of the year. So I'd have to think maybe some improvement in the cards for this horse, but maybe the most impressive victory of any Derby prep so far.
That son of a bitch looked amazing.
Yep.
I
Yep.
did get to see that on my little phone at where were we at? Kettleman's restaurant in Frankfurt. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's Renegade coming. And that last eighth of a mile, he was going to win the race anyway. He's powered away. That's what you always like to see at a mile and eighth, that they power away. And I mean, he just went by them standing still and poured it on without asking and stuff. And I mean, he's at the top of everybody's list right now, rightfully so. Looking for chinks in the armor at the moment. Don't see any. The pace is always a thing, right? There's a lot of the main contenders seem to be those types that come from off the pace. So we'll see if we get any legit speed in there. In this era of the point system, sometimes legit blazing speed isn't quite there, but then there's always pace in the Derby. So we'll see how the pace shapes up. But that was one bad looking bastard the other day.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It was the most visually impressive Derby prep I've seen so far. Jury might be out a little bit on the field, especially
Right.
compared to the Florida Derby. I think it was a
Yes.
stronger race for sure. But as you said, he was powering away from that group and strong as can be through the wire at a mile and an eighth. So no distance concerns whatsoever for Renegade. I mean, I guess my biggest concern probably is just Rapoli's history in the Derby recently. Like, is this horse
Yeah.
going to get scratched every week? Like, I hope not. But man, it seems like that's been happening recently. I will say it meant something to me that Arad Ortiz went to Hot Springs to ride this horse over Commandment. He rode both in their previous races. It seemed like he had the choice, and it seems that like he made the decision to ride Renegade. So that when 2 horses are so close like these two are, these are my top 2 Derby contenders right now in Commandment and Renegade. My slight lean is to Renegade right now just because of how well he finished that race and because Irad Ortiz chose to ride this one when it seems like he had the choice.
What about a blackout time has not moved on as a 3-year-old? I mean, that
Yeah,
was a bad effort. And litmus test. Who in the hell keeps betting litmus tests? Jeez.
I
But
don't know. That was another one we talked about being against. So hey, yeah,
yeah, that's anyway.
I'd have to say Silent Tactic is a good measuring stick, maybe for all the 3-year-olds. He's run so many times. He runs his race every
that's
single
true.
time.
Yep.
Yes.
Renegade just blew him out of the water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, interesting to see what class president does in the Bluegrass Stakes because these two are noses apart in the Rebel Stakes. But yeah, let's talk about that right now. The Bluegrass Stakes is on Saturday, and let me pull it up here. It's the last race of 11 on that Saturday card, and we've got one defection, Ocelli. The maiden will go to the Wood Memorial, and that's going to leave us with a field of 8. And it looks like Further Ado, who blew the brakes off of everybody, winning a maiden race by 20 lengths last fall at Keeneland, is going to be your 8-5 favorite. And Rad Ortiz winds up here for Brad Cox. He's going to face class president Reagan's Honor and Great White. Jeff Riggs, I bet you like Great
Yep.
White in here.
You know I do. I don't think I have to even harp on that anymore. Anybody who's been listening to us knows my love affair with Great White, that big striking colt. But it seems like he's working well coming into this. He's got some time off. He's fresh. I do think that full effort winning the Ruby flatters his form. The dirt is obviously a question coming from Turfway Park, but I have not seen a horse physically look more impressive than Great White in a very long time. I think we might get good value on him too. I have not. There hasn't been a morning line yet, right?
I've got it here. He's 15-1 morning line. But
Oh my
Perfect.
God.
I think
That's
Whatever.
that's
Man.
that's a
I
pipe
mean, that's
dream.
not going to happen because enough people like that horse, but he's still kind of under the radar. You might get 10-1, 8, 9, 10-1 on him, and I would be
Yeah.
ecstatic with that. I do agree with you on Further Ado. I think he might have a little bit of blackout time in him, that he maybe is one of those that just peaked early and hasn't quite making the step forward. So, as what is probably going to be a somewhat short price in there, I'm sure Further Ado will probably be favored in this group. I'm semi against him.
Maybe the conversation should be about Keeneland morning lines, but whatever. I haven't looked at the field well enough to gauge the morning lines, but 15-1 on Great White's insane. Well, I'm not saying the horse is going to win. I'd be like, that's crazy, but that's probably anti-turfway bias too. But maybe the Keeneland morning line discussion should come up somewhere along the way.
Yeah,
Uh,
can I guess who Cece likes in here?
oh, go
I
ahead.
don't even know. I don't even know who I like, but yeah, go ahead.
Reagan's Honor's in here, right?
Yeah, he's in there.
Oh, you're a Reagan's Honor guy.
Well, I have a tiny future bet on him at
Uh-huh.
35-1. And yeah, I am kind of rooting for him. My problem is there's not a lot of speed, or excuse me,
Right.
there seems to be enough speed to keep him busy early. So
Uh-huh. Up
that
front,
worries
yep.
me. That worries me a little bit. So, but based on his
He
thoroughbred,
hasn't proven that he can't rate though.
that's true. He ran a 3 on thoroughbred. That puts him right there with the others, the main contenders. Although Further Ado ran that monster at Keeneland last fall. So I mean,
Yeah.
technically he's the fastest horse in the race. But if you draw a line through that number, then Reagan's Honor is amongst the fastest. So yeah, interested to see what he can do. And he's had enough time since that big number at Fairgrounds to recoup, and we might see his best once again.
Well, they really like to put El Celli in every prep, don't they? It's like, come on, man, shorten this horse
Yeah.
up,
They have
shorten
a
this
lot of
horse,
belief in him.
drop him to the maiden ranks or whatever. He got, I mean,
And
what's he in line for this time, CC? He's probably 15-20 going. He's probably 20-1, right?
he's going to scratch from the Bluegrass.
Oh, yes.
He's going to the Wood Memorial instead.
Oh yeah, I did see that today.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
they're not in that maiden race stuff with him, are they?
and
Publisher 2.0.
Yeah.
oh, Publisher's better than him, right?
Publisher's a nice horse.
Publisher's turned into a great horse. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's win. He's what he's on three race win streak now.
Mm-hmm.
Probably see him Derby weekend and something. So yeah, let's turn our attentions to the Wood Memorial real quick. I'm not in love with this race, but we'll talk about it briefly. I mean, it's I think a 12 horse field now that Ottenho is going to scratch here for Chad Brown. He's going to run at Keeneland in the Bluegrass. Napoleon Solo on the rail, probably going to be your favorite. I don't have a morning line for this race, but big number last fall in the Champagne at Aqueduct. Finished fifth, well beaten in a very tough Fountain of Youth behind Commandment and Chief Wallaby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's him basically versus a bunch of maidens and allowance horses for the most part. I mean, you've got some horses that come out of stakes races, but not fared very well. So interesting, right? Really good betting race if you're against Napoleon Solo. You're going to get a price in here, I would think. And I mean, there's reasons to think Napoleon Solo won't run his race in here. So, any thoughts on the Wood Memorial? You may not have had a chance to look at it though.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I haven't really had a chance to dig into it yet, but also the wood hasn't really been that productive recently, in as far as Derby goes. So I haven't given it as much of a look, but I think you're right that it's kind of Napoleon Solo or anybody. So maybe I'll dig into it a little more this week and try and find a price.
I'll just say one thing, maybe not so much related to the wood, but one thing I think everybody falls into every year at Derby season, there is this case of a recency bias each week. A couple weeks ago, Incredibolt was all the rage after the race at Colonial. Then last week, Full Effort was the big deal, and the Chad Brown horse won the Louisiana Derby. Help me with the name.
Emerging market. Yeah.
Emerging Market. He was the big deal, and as I said, it happens every time these horses get forgotten about because the next week comes along, and then you're blown away by Renegade, then you're blown away by the Puma, you're blown away by the Commandment. The same thing will happen to a lesser extent this week once we have somebody win the Bluegrass by 3 lengths or so, something like that. So it happens. It's like a few weeks ago, Incredible was all the rage. Now it looks like you get 30 to 1 on Incredible on Derby Day. Last week, Full Effort was a lot of people liked him. You're going to get 20 to 1. So that's I still say that I like Renegade a lot. But you see my point, right? That every week there's a recency bias that comes up, and then horses kind of get forgotten about. It may. I don't think it's going to happen this week, but it may. Do you see my point there?
I, for one, I'm not a fan of Incredibolt, and I think Emerging Market is a horse to watch with just two starts under his belt.
Yeah,
I
big
just I
upside
don't.
with him. It's a tough ask, only two starts so far, but that's a talented racehorse, emerging market.
Yeah, but that's asking a lot. I mean, he's going to come into the race slower than some of the others. And same way with Incredibolt. It was an impressive victory. I don't think he beat much.
No. And that
Uh,
was a one turn. People that's a one turn race too. He's built like a one turn horse to me.
yeah, he's got some upside though. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. But yeah, I did may have buried the lead on Iron Honor. I kind of discounted him because he's breaking from the outside. He's breaking from the 12 hole. Another horse with just three starts, but he's undefeated. Won the Gotham Stakes. Uh, I don't know. I just again, just like Napoleon Solo, there's reasons he may not run his race. So we may see a big balloons in the wood.
I'll have to
So
take a look at it.
let's turn our attentions now to Santa Anita. If DRF will let me pull it up here. There we go. Santa Anita Derby, field of seven.
Got my
This is
boy Potente in there, right?
right, race number 10, $500,000 Santa Anita Derby going 9 furlongs. Potente 2 to 1,
Oh, okay.
stablemate Cherokee Nation 5 to 2,
Mm.
both from the Bob Baffert barn. I will uh, say that I have another future bet on Cherokee Nation at 19 to 1.
Mm.
Yeah, I've got three.
That's kind of a confident bet for being the last one, 19 to 1.
I've got
I know
three.
Kate, I know our friend Caitlin Benson likes Cherokee Nation quite a bit too.
And it's all based on that maiden win. He won easily, won by 10
Yeah.
lengths, going a two-turn mile. Son of Not This Time for the Avengers, Starlight Racing, SF Racing, all those guys. You get Florent Giroux. I'm not crazy about that, but he's won a Derby kind of. I don't know why they kicked Jaramillo off of him for Giroux. I guess he's just not high up on the pecking order. But looks like those two. Maybe you could toss in Robusta, who was 67 to 1 when he almost pulled the upset over Potente in the San Felipe. Just got beaten ahead. Intrepido might be worth a look on the outside for Jeff Mullins. Horse has some fast numbers coming into this. So, any thoughts on the Santa Anita Derby, or we're just going to sit on our hands and watch?
I haven't looked a whole lot into it, but Potente's been my guy. I do have a future on him, and I think 48 to 1, something like that, 44 to 1, 48 to 1. So I hope he at least runs well. Gives me a shot into the first Saturday in May, but I haven't really dug into the race. Alan, have you looked at it?
I was in California. You probably know the answer to that.
That's right.
All right, that's that. There is a Derby future wager coming up again. I think it was a little too close to the actual event, maybe to invest in this. Is there anything you like maybe that may be overlooked here? I mean, I told you I've got Cherokee Nation at 19-1. They've got him 30-1 on the morning line. So
Probably got to bet him right back then, huh?
yeah, this is going to close, I think, right before the three prep races.
Yeah, I kind of like that because I think if it closed after the races, it'd be too close to what you're going to get on Derby Day. So I kind of like that they're closing it before this time when they've closed after previously.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not in love with anything here. Other than what I've already got. I mean, you're not going. I've got three wagers. I got Reagan's Honor like 35-1, Cherokee Nation 19.
What's Reagan's honor in this one right now?
20-1, and I've got Renegade. I got Renegade at 13-1. So I did good there because
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
yeah, he's 4-1 morning line here. But I don't know. I mean, you got these two Japanese horses. One's 30-1. The other's 20-1. Dan and Bourbon's 20-1. I don't like that. Full Effort is 30-1.
Not bad.
That might be the play. Great White 90-1. You
Yeah,
know,
baby. There's my bet.
that's
Say less.
he's not gonna
Say
go up 90.
less.
He's not gonna go up 90-1, is he?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like people don't really give him the respect he deserves. When
Yeah.
he beat Full Effort, a lot of people really like Full Effort more out of that race just because he was gaining on him. But I thought Great White ran huge, and he's still learning everything that Ennis has said. He's still moving forward. He's still green. He was still a little immature. So, I mean, if he runs big this weekend, he's going to be a much lower price than that.
Yeah. I mean, if you do get something like that, I mean, it'd be worth $5, right?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah. I mean, Robusta 80-1. That might be worth a play if that horse, if he duplicates that race last time.
What's class president?
15. Too low, isn't it?
Too low. Yep, too
A little
low.
low for me. Yeah.
Too low. Yep. I'm looking at something else here. Napoleon Solo 60-1. I really don't want any of him.
Yeah.
6 Speed 60-1. That horse may actually be the lone speed in the Derby.
Possible. There's not a lot of confirmed front runners that are in there. That was the other thing I was thinking about when we were talking about these prices. I like Reagan's Honor quite a bit, but 20-1 on a horse with zero Derby points currently,
Right.
that's a little tough to take for me.
Right. I agree. And then you've got all others at 30-1, but I can't imagine.
Yeah, who else is it going to be?
No, I would need 100-1 on that before I even considered it. Because I think they've got them all covered here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all for me. Anything else?
I'm good.
All good here?
All right. Well, let's wrap it up. On behalf of our guest, Kinnon LaRose, good luck on Thursday and Friday with your first starters. Alan Schneider, Geoff Riggs, I'm CC Broaddus. Wishing you a happy Easter, and we'll see you next time.